You know, one of the nicest things about making movies in there is you never get a nostril shot, and that's because our avatars really don't have nostrils. We just sort of have a dark triangle under our bottom of our nose. Anyhow, I'm Francis7, and now that you're thinking about that, I've probably ruined the way you look at your avatar for the rest of your time in there. But this is the basic modeling class in GMax, and, well, I really don't care. Anyhow, it's July 2nd, 2012, and hopefully you're watching this video to learn how to model in GMax. Now, this class isn't specifically to teach you about how to make models for there, although basically you'll have a big chunk of that down. Please make sure you sign up for my class, my GMax Boot Camp class at the UOT, and then basically you'll know everything you need to know about modeling for there. But this class, we're going to learn the basic tools of GMax, how to make objects, how to glue them together, eventually how to texture them, and it's going to be fun over the next couple weeks. So let's get started. Oh, one more thing. Remember that this is a video, so you can pause it and wind it back at any time. And since we're in a classroom, if you get stuck or have a question about what the heck I'm blathering on about, feel free to ask me. All right, off we go. Alrighty, here we go. Now, I'm assuming you've already got the program installed. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to go up and we're going to right-click up on the toolbar, and we are going to turn on what we're going to right-click anywhere up in this area, and we're going to turn on the tab panel. And you may forget how to do this later, and it may go away at some day. You'll go, oh, I don't remember how to get it back. That's what happened after there was gone for me for a year. I couldn't remember how to get this back. But you right-click in the gray area, you say tab panel, and there and across the top will appear all these tabs. We're not going to be using them in today's class, so I'll probably remind you about this next time. But the only one we're going to be using is modifiers anyway. We really don't need the rest of those tools. And under there, we're really only going to be playing with one or two things. So here, today's basic class is going to be creating objects. We're going to learn how to manipulate those objects a little bit, change them, make them different shapes. And the first thing you're going to notice about this program is compared to a lot of, there is an object tab. I really don't use it very much. The objects seem to be rather limited. So basically we're going to be creating objects out of just a few shapes. Let's go ahead and change one more thing before we get started. A lot of people like to make sure that they've set the preferences the correct way. And you may need to, if you've been playing around, you may need to click just in a gray toolbar before you do this. And go to Customize and select from the bottom, Preferences. All right. Oops, sorry about that. Customize, Preferences. Okay. And once again, if you don't get this particular toolbox, close up whatever display box you get. Just click up in the gray area on the toolbar, like up here in the top, and then try it again. I find that when I'm zooming in like I'm using with this camera control, I'm getting all kinds of weird windows. And basically we're under the General tab, and here's the preference thing that we're going to be using. So we're under the General tab. So if you don't see it, you may need to click on it. And basically 1 unit is equal to 1. It doesn't really matter whether you say meters or inches or whatever, but for there we're going to use meters. So from the pull-down menu, make sure you select meters. I think the default is inches, but we want 1 unit in this program to equal 1 meter. Which is kind of strange because people are actually 2.4 meters or a little bit taller than that tall in there.com, which means they're gigantically huge, and it's just kind of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar time. Anyway, once you've selected meters, just say OK, and you'll probably never have to worry about that again. Do you even need to do that? I don't think so, because 1 unit is equal to 1 unit, and 1 unit happens to equal 1 meter in there. So we're all set, as long as you realize that avatars are like 7 feet tall or more, you'll be all set. Anyway, don't worry about that too much. You'll get the hang of that once we get into later. So next thing we're going to do is over on the right hand side we have these tools, and there's a tab bar at the top, and the one that's currently selected is the Creation tab, so you may need to come back to this. And it's set to standard primitives right now, and in future lessons we'll be doing some of the other things. And below that is a few objects, and I usually use boxes and cylinders, and once in a while I'll use a sphere. Sometimes I've tried geospheres because they kind of work really good. Cones, not so much. I'll take a cylinder, just glue the top off. I'm happy with that. So a teapot, you really want to make a teapot, you can go ahead and teapot away. But, you know, it's got really too many polygons in it for their object anyhow. So let me undo that. All right. Let's go ahead and make a box. So we select the box tool. We go over here, and the little black line is like the center of your world. So it helps to start by drawing a little box. And basically we start at one corner and work our way diagonally to the other. You'll see in the perspective window, this is like a plane. Right now it's a flat plane. When we let go of the mouse button, those two dimensions are set. The length and the width are set. And when we let go, then we can control how tall we want it to be, whether it goes down below the ground level or above. And anything below the plane is sort of underground, so you do want to have it sort of above ground. Anyhow, let's just go ahead and click somewhere. Now over on the right, you can see how big this is. This box has the length of 8 meters, the width of 9 meters, and it's 25 meters tall, which means it's a pretty gigantic box. And usually what I start by doing is changing these. And I make the length 1 unit, the width 1 unit, which is a meter, and the height is 2.5 meters tall. And when I press the enter key, it will then be that tall. Let me show you these numbers again. Make the length 1. It'll put the 0.0 on for you. You don't have to worry about that. The width 1 and the height 2.5. Now in the classroom there is an invisible box. You can stand in it if you want to, and it's basically an object that is 2.5 meters tall and 1 by 1 meter. So this object will be the same height as that object in the classroom, and that may help you figure out how to build things. 2.5 meters is a good door height. If you're building a house, you definitely want to have a little bit of head clearance. Don't make it 2.4. People will be scraping their prop hairstyles on it. All right, let's talk about some other things. Down here in the bottom right, some tools you're going to be using. This one right here is called Zoom All Extents. And that one basically, when you click it, will zoom in on whatever happens to be in the world. All right, let's talk about moving an object around in our world. Now that we've got an object, we can move it. This is the 4-arrow tool, the Move tool. And if you click on it, you can move things around. In this case, we can move this object in one of two directions. So we can move it this way or that way. And you can see how that's working out in the perspective window down there. You might also need to use the Zoom Out tool. Here's a magnifying glass. That'll help you out. And maybe the Hand tool to move things around so you can see things better. So for example, the Hand tool, I want to be able to see where I'm moving things. Maybe the Zoom Out tool a little bit so I can see everything that's going on and I'm not so confused about things. Whoa, pretty sensitive. So once again, that's the Move arrow, and now you know how to use the Hand tool to move things around in case something gets out of your view. All right, now we've got an avatar-sized box. We can start making some objects that would sort of, you can imagine there's a person standing there and how big their hand would be, and that's sort of helpful for when you're building things. Let's go ahead and make a cylinder. The cylinder tool is pretty useful. I use it a lot for tree trunks, making anything. It's very basically complicated. I use it a lot. And basically it's going to ask you a variety of things. There's how many height segments, there's how many sides, and there's even cap segments. You can get real fancy with this. So let's go ahead and make a cylinder. Whoa, okay. That has an awful lot of polygons in it. Each one of these triangles, by the way, if you didn't know, is a polygon. The two of them make up sort of that rectangle. That would be like a face. Basically, that's a lot of polygons. There's a way you can check how many objects, how many polygons you've used. You can't tell how many verts you've used. We haven't even got talking about that. But up at the top, there's this little hammer over here. Stop! Hammer time. Couldn't resist. Anyway, you pick that one, and there's another one underneath it called Polygon Counter. Yes. Yes. I was going to make a joke there, but I won't. All right, and here's the Polygon Counter, and basically it has like all objects in your scene down here at the bottom, and currently I've used 228, of which the cylinder uses 216. And if you're thinking about their modeling, that's probably too many for a cylinder. So, what if you make an object and you don't want it? Well, as long as you've got it selected, it's like you can click on it. Let me click back on this object. You can hit your delete key. That is delete key, and it will go away. Let's go back to the creation tab again right up here. It's got this sort of light up in the top corner, da-da, and a little arrow pointing at it. And we can make a new cylinder. In this case, we're going to start modifying these numbers. So let's go ahead and make it the same way. So it's about the same height, looks about the same, it's got the same number of polygons. All right, let's change it. So over here on the right, we can change all these things. Let's make the height segments 1. It's just going to be a cylinder. It doesn't need a whole bunch of height segments. It also doesn't need a bunch of sides. So let's make it 9 sides. And let's make it 1 height segment. Let's go back to that hammer in the Polygon Counter if you closed it, because I stupidly did. And now the current thing is only 36 polygons. Now, so we cut off 220 some polygons. That's a pretty good deal. Does it still look okay? Oh, sure. Looks pretty good. And you'll notice most tree trunks are probably, 8 or 9 sides or less. They really don't have that many. You put a texture on there, it'll hide a lot of the lack of detail. Alrighty, let's go ahead and create one more object. We'll go back to that arrow tool. We'll click on the sphere. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, the default sphere. Let's take a look at it. Oh my, that is really beautiful looking. Unfortunately, if we take a quick look at the Polygon Counter, sorry, 960 polygons. Well, maybe if we're going to make a hover boat and it's just a ball and it's just by itself. Yeah, okay, so hit the delete key. Okay. So, how do you deal with that? Well, the ball has a number of segments. You might also try the geosphere. It's kind of useful too. Some cases you can get a little bit better looking thing out of it. Anyway, let's try something like 12 segments and see how that looks. Yeah, there we go. There is a 12 segment ball. Let's put it up above ground level. Looking pretty good there. Hey, it looks like I've created the Electronic Arts logo. Oh wait, one of those is what used to be a cone, I guess. Well, we'll make it into a cone in a bit. Let's take a look at that Polygon Counter. That's hammer time. And click on the Polygon Counter. Let's check it out. All right, current one, 120. That's better than 900. Anything that's got a roundness to it is very, very difficult. If you're going to make knickknacks, try and think of things that are boxy-like. They're going to be a lot easier to manufacture. Boxes, cubes, anything that can be a simple shape. Anything that's got roundness to it, that's going to kill your wholesale cost. It's going to go up. It's going to be hard to make an object to submit. Yeah, I know this class isn't about making objects in there, but I'm always going to be talking about it. All right, let's go ahead to get to the meat and potatoes here of what we're going to do. We're going to learn to modify these objects. Now we've got them, and we're going to change them. And the way you do that is you right-click on an object, and it doesn't really matter which one you pick. Let's do the cube first. We'll right-click on the cube. We're going to convert to Editable Mesh. Once again, that's right-clicking on the cube, convert to Editable Mesh. And make sure you don't say Polygon. Editable Poly, not good. Editable Mesh is the one you want. And of course, my program is now crashed, which reminds me next time, make sure you save often. We'll be back in one moment. All right, as best we can, we're back. All right, so we right-click on the cube, we say convert to Editable Mesh, and you got to remember to save off. And GMax is a free program. It's not the world's most complicated thing, and I highly recommend that you save often, and you save as, and you give them different names. Let's go ahead and show you. When you go to File and Save, there is, by the way, a default path. So in this case, I'm going to go up to the desktop, and I've made a little folder called Work, and in there I'm going to name it Test. Let's name it Test 2. So you're going to need to save things in there, and when you export them, you're going to export them to maybe a completely different location. So when you go save, and we can't export because we don't really have the There Builder tools quite yet, but when you can, you're going to need to make sure that you're saving it to the right folder, because both the save and the export have different default paths. And so you're going to end up, where did my model file go? I don't know. Well, you go File Open, it'll take you there. But then when you go export again, make sure you go to the desktop, make sure you go to your folder specifically, or on the C drive, it'd be even better. Just put it on the C drive. This program likes to install to its default location, by the way, for people who are doing. Okay, so we've right-clicked, we've converted to Editable Mesh, and I'm going to stop talking, and we're going to start doing right now. And over on the right, we're going to talk about the different types of tools. I never even bother with this one. I don't even know why they make that. But basically, you'll see these 3 dots. These are vertices. At the corner of each line segment in your object, there's a vertice. It's the corner. And mathematically, when you save your file, that's what it's saving. where these things are and how they're connected to the other things. So the number of verts can't be viewed inside this program. However, the number of verts is usually double the number of polygons you have, which is rather useful. This tool over here is the Polygon Tool. It's 3 verts connected in the form of a triangle. If you have, the next one over is called face, and face, if you can see that this is a square, is actually made up of 2 triangles that are together. So if you grab a face, you're grabbing whatever that shape is on your object, but it can be made up of more than one polygon. And over here is, grab an entire object and move it around. All right, so I mean, if I grab the entire object, I can basically move it around. That's whoop-de-skip. But in this case, using this tool first, we're going to start with verts. And we'll go ahead and grab a vert. And the verts, by the way, you can see them in this picture. They're at the corners, the vertices of each of these angles on this cube. For example, there's a little blue dot. There's 4 up here, and there's 4 down at the bottom, of which you can only see 2. So we grab one of these, and if you're very scientific about it, you can just grab it in one of these dimensions. By the way they sort of get those, those tiki buildings in there to sort of have that abstract sort of bent up look, that's how they do it. They just grab these and start stretching them out. Hey, it's not really a cube on the back of that sign, it's a post that's all messed up. There is undo and multiple undo. It's Control Z, by the way, if you hadn't figured that out. But anyway, go ahead and just grab some of these little verts and start pulling them around. You can grab it in the 3-dimensional space too and start stretching it this way also. And go ahead and manipulate this thing around until you get it sort of an interesting look to it. All right, maybe drag it. Here's another thing. You can grab more than one vert at a time. If you take your mouse and draw a box around it, you can move a whole bunch of the verts at once. So you can stretch it out and distort it, and there we've got sort of an interesting looking shape going on. Okay, very cool. We've got an interesting looking shape about the part height of a person, and pretty soon you're going to be making yourself your own tear crystal there. That'll be kind of cool. All right, so we know how to move and distort. Oh, you can also use this. We haven't used this tool yet. We've been using the move tool a little bit, but now let's go to the tool right next to it. This is the rotate tool, and you can use this to distort things too. So if I grab that and I grab a couple verts, there's a couple, I can rotate those verts around and twist and shout and do all that sort of thing. Ooh, that's really kind of cool. I can grab all 4 of those and rotate them around or twist them in different directions, etc. You can have all kinds of fun distorting shapes this way. It's great. Let's go ahead and right click on this object and convert to Editable Mesh. And then we can select another object and we'll convert it to Editable Mesh. And we'll talk about another tool right now. Let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and grab this tool. Now this is the resize tool. And by default, if you just grab it, it allows you to make things smaller or bigger after you've already made them, which is very helpful because that measurement thing only appears, as far as I can tell, right when you first start. But now we can also grab some verts and we can grab those. We can use that measurement tool. Let's make it smaller. Hey, now we've created sort of a pointy cone. That's kind of neat. Maybe I'll grab the move tool and grab that center dot in that pointy cone. I got the one on top. There's the one on top. It's turned red. You can see that now. Grab that one little dot, and now I've made my own sort of a volcano looking thing. Perfect for 4th of July fireworks coming up in a couple days from now. Shame we can't submit things. There's also undo. Alrighty. You can also grab multiple verts by clicking on one, then holding, I think it's the Control key down, and I could grab every other vert of these 4. It's hard to get them just right. There we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm holding the Control key down. Now I've got the 4 verts at the top of this cone. Now if I grab the, what do you call this thing? The resize tool. I can go over here and I can grab these verts and I can stretch those out and make sort of an interesting shape out of it. Yeah, cool. Now I've made, I don't know what I've made here. I'm on my way to making a rocket ship, it looks like. Alright, so if I was actually going to make a rocket ship, I might need to rotate this a different direction so that people could ride it, and you probably need to know how to do that. So let's right click on our object and convert it back to an editable mesh. We'll get the rotate tool. we'll rotate this thing around. And by the way, when you're rotating, down here it'll show you how much you've rotated. I rotated that in minus 89 degrees, but what I really wanted is minus 90. So I can type minus 90 into that box down there, and then press the enter key. Oop, there we go. Now I'm 90. Let's go ahead and move this rocket ship up a little bit. That's pretty cool. Let's go back to the Vert tool. I'm going to grab the one right in the front, and I'm going to stretch that one out. By the way, if you click in another window and unselect the thing you want, try Control Z, because selecting something counts. There we go. Now I've made my own rocket ship. This is actually pretty cool. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Maybe I want the two fins to be a little bigger on the sides than I do on the tail. So let me go ahead and grab that. Maybe it's going to make a good hoverboard. I'll grab this one, hold the control key down, grab the other, stretch those out a little bit. And I can't remember if I put the inside dot to be like a inside of it or not. I guess I didn't. So let me grab that one dot right on the inside there, and I'll just scrunch that one in there. Oh, that is cool looking. That is pretty cool looking. I could color that up. Man, I wish I hadn't shown you how to do this now, because this is looking really neat. Okay, so that's about the size of a person. So I suppose this could be a little hoverboard. Make it a little bit different. Stretch it out a little bit more. There we go. All right. Now, let's see. What other things do I need to show you here today? Let's see. We've talked about using the Move tool. We've talked about the Rotate tool. We've talked about how you can rotate things by typing in a degree, like 90 degrees or minus 90 degrees or 180. Turning, whoa, didn't want to do that. There we go. Okay, so we're back. And that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Gotta admit, that turned out pretty good for a sample model there. Your mileage may vary, of course. Hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. If I am, you can always wind the tape back. I think I've mentioned that to you before. All right, one other thing I forgot to tell you is we've been modifying verts, but you can also modify entire. Let me go ahead and right-click on this and convert it to an editable mesh. You're going to do that a lot. I can go ahead and grab a face. We really haven't talked much about the face tool, but you can use that or a polygon even. And let me go ahead and grab just one face. And if you look, you'll see this face has become selected in red. So this is the only face I'm messing with right now. So if I grab, remember, if you unselect it, click it wrong, edit Control Z for undo. And now I can grab this one face and stretch that one face out. Same with polygon. You can grab the polygon tool, grab just one polygon, and you can stretch that one polygon out. That can kind of get you some pretty weird effects just by itself. Alrighty. I can't seem to select another one. There we go. Yeah, so I'm grabbing that one polygon, stretching it around. You can have a lot of fun with that too. I just wanted to show you that one thing. Or the one face. You could grab the top and just stretch that up too. So those might help you create things and stretch them in different ways. I think that might be useful to you as well. Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to do in this particular lesson. I'm thinking that's pretty good. We learned how to use the Move tool, the Rotate tool, and the Resize tool. Probably three of the main tools you're going to be using. We learned all about the Create tool, okay, and how to create boxes, balls, and cylinders to a point. Oh, and we did forget to do is welding. So we're going to have to learn how to weld verts together and glue objects together. And that's going to be what we're going to be focusing on next time. And we'll probably be getting the textures, the class after that. Alrighty, welcome back. I hope you had fun learning how to do some basic modeling in GMax. Today you learned how to move objects, duplicate objects, change the size of objects, deform objects, and sort of move them around in a three-dimensional space. I was just kidding about that test earlier. Anyhow, see you next Monday for another exciting class in basic modeling in GMax.